And this deer jumps up out of the brush pile. And it's the deer he shot, right? And it's freaking giant. I said, Kevin, a deer's a bigger giant. He's a giant.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. Not to be confused with some other show that you might watch or listen to.
Powered by Deercast.
Ugh, big time. And First Form Energy.
That's right. Today, some more than others.
That's right.
Yeah, you are still Matt Drury.
You're still Tim Chelswick.
And we got Mark Beck in studio.
Yeah, Drury Outdoors team member. And soon to be up all night as we're shooting this at about 2 o'clock.
He's sipping on that energy juice.
Energy juice is right. 300 milligrams of juice.
Well, I felt bad. So I got a little story to tell on Mark before we get too far into it. This past Thanksgiving, my in-laws live up in the Springfield, Illinois area. And we had just purchased a new to us van, and like literally the day before Thanksgiving, I got it titled and everything. And we were like, oh, we're driving the new van up. The kids are watching the DVD.
Everybody's
player
excited.
In the back. It's great. Everything's going great. Well, we pack up to leave that. I think it was, maybe it was Thanksgiving evening.
It was Thanksgiving evening, yes.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly.
Yes.
Yeah, I had nothing going on. Thanksgiving evening.
We're packing up, and it's like, I don't know, 18, 20 degrees, winds crazy out of the west. It's not a pleasant evening. We pile the kids in the van, and I noticed that the windows in the back kind of go up slowly. I was like, that's weird.
Battery's not quite
Battery light is on the dash. That's weird also. So let's see what this does. And we get,
Smart.
I don't know, maybe 12 miles southbound on 55 and headlights start dimming, start losing power to the engine. The dash, like all the lights that are on the dash start flickering.
Pretty.
And, and so
Neat.
I drop it neutral and just coast as far as I can. And we're DOA.
Were you mad?
Little bit.
Because everything's open on Thanksgiving night.
It was not the best time by any stretch. And I just, so it was a private party sale, and my mother-in-law was like, you didn't buy it from a dealer? Well, what about the warranty?
Shut
up. Not a great time to be asking those questions. Anyways, I was like, who do I know? Because my mother-in-law is 80 some years old. She's not going to be able. So
I feel bad
Mark
about
Beck.
telling her to shut up, I guess.
You can apologize. Her name is Pearl.
Sorry, Pearl.
For
Tim being your son-in-law.
Don't turn that on me. She's sorry too.
Yes, I'm sure.
So I texted Mark or called him. I don't remember.
He called me.
Okay. It was urgent.
Because I'm
Sure.
my wife going, Tim, he's going to call and wish me
Tim.
happy Thanksgiving or something.
Who is this?
I should have done that.
I'm like, oh, what's a weird time to call, but okay.
I'm pretty sure I didn't lead
lucky
with
he
happy
picked up.
Thanksgiving, Mark.
No, he did not lead with that.
Well, the funny thing was he had just been a few miles from where I was at a family gathering, and then had gone home like a normal person at the end of the day on Thanksgiving.
I just drove through Rochester. I mean, literally right within 100 yards from where you left from.
Of course.
And got home in Petersburg, get the call,
Ring.
and I'm like, hey, hon, I'm going to go get a guy named, you have no idea who it is, but he broke down on the interstate. So, it was great. I mean, happy to help.
Yeah, Mark was our hero.
Hey, that's good karma. That's good karma. Although it did not help you out this deer season.
Not worth a
Or maybe it was bad karma, Tim. Maybe
the stink
of Tim
contagious.
It just kind of wafted over to
I
Mark
was
Beck.
so close to having a year of a lifetime, but thanks, Tim.
Crap. I apologize now.
No, I was glad to help. It
Tim,
was
apologize.
cold.
Let's move on.
The kids were happy to see a warm truck when I got there.
Oh, yeah. Bo was starting to cry like, what are we going to do? I can't watch a DVD.
Good question. I can't watch a DVD. Shut up, Bo.
I was like, put a coat on. Chill out.
Right.
We're going to get this figured out. But
how'd Beth handle it?
She was super thankful for Mark.
Oh, no, before that part. I'm wanting to backtrack a little bit.
She was angry at the kids for whining and complaining because they never the kids never fully grasped the situation.
Not kids these days. They're used to all luxury around them at all times.
Oh, my Wi-Fi dipped to 1 bar. What's going on up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they just don't understand.
Yeah.
the luxuries they live in.
Yeah. I try to tell them when I was a kid, we'd go from Ottawa to Peoria, Illinois to see my grandparents in a vehicle that didn't have air conditioning
Or seatbelts.
Oh,
Okay, I was right.
Well, it had seatbelts, but they were optional when I was a kid. It was like you were Jesus's little brother if you wore a seatbelt.
And if your brother or sister touched you, you're like, don't touch me. You're trapped in a car.
Yeah, or you're riding in the back glass.
Station wagon looking backwards the whole time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. We took a trip from Morris, Illinois to Calvert City, Kentucky to fish Kentucky Lake when I was a kid. My buddy and I, we were 6th grade. We rode in the back of my dad's Chevy Silverado with a topper on from North Central Illinois down to Kentucky. And we had walkie-talkies to talk to my dad and his buddy up in the cab.
Are they giving you a heads up we're about to break?
No, nothing. We had sleeping bags for that. That was the protective layer.
Imagine that, like if they're slamming on the brakes, like you're just going to hit.
Oh, we thought about it. It was
Did you wear a helmet for the ride down?
It was a calculated risk.
When you put your head up against the back of the
This
bed.
explains a lot.
I don't know how many hundreds of miles that was.
That's a lot.
But in a pickup truck bed.
Well, it sounds fine.
Yeah.
It ended up being fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So the moral of the story is Mark Beck is a good guy. He came to your rescue. I'm sure knowing you probably asked him if he had any hunting ground that you can access.
By the way, can I kill a deer while I'm here?
And then
Yep.
all this is true
Hey,
so
you want to
far.
hunt together? Like film me or something? That'd be fun.
And then that good karma did not work out for Mark.
For Mark.
Once the season
For
hit.
me, yes.
Yes.
For Mark, no.
Yeah, I wish I could blame you, Tim.
So
You can.
yeah, why not? Everyone else does. Walk us through what kind of season you had, because it was a weird one.
Man,
With
it's
some
still
really,
good.
really big deer.
Yeah. Still a good season overall.
I ended up killing a 167 or something, so it's not like
Would have been our best season in quite a few
I
years.
might have let it walk.
a struggle. But I had a deer called Super 2 that we had let go the year before. He's 4.5 years old. Mid 180s type deer, and we all said, hey, Stan Potts and I and Donnie Vincent and Kevin, and we all was like, we're going to let this deer walk because we have a pretty big piece of property and we have all the food and everything they need. There's the one neighbor, actually, Chaz, during the muzzleloader season, shot him and drew blood. And we're like, Chaz, what, Chaz never seen a deer like that. He's going to shoot it. And I get it. Right. But we saw him late season. I saw him in January feeding in the cornfield. So knew he was alive and well. Then fast forward, just showed some of the guys here the video that I'd gotten, after I had my incident. But, he ended up he's a giant, and set up. I filmed it all, put a food plot in for him. I put a culvert in with the skid steer where I'd seen him the year before in this big steep ditch, and I created a culvert, and just so it's easy place for them to cross.
Like
I put a culvert in and everything.
Heck.
Next level. That's some Mark Drury stuff right there.
He's got his
Just
own
because-
bat cave.
It's like, this deer just take the easiest path, and I knew he liked that there anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I did it, and we got pictures of him there, and it just was one of those days. Rhett's here in the studio with us, rode down with me, and I set at this tree stand for a northwest wind, and we got it, and here he come running off the top of the hill, and just shit happened or things
That's
happened.
all right.
Oh, we gotta cut this. We gotta cut.
That's a really good word for me.
Yeah.
And he came
even
down
censored himself.
He came down off the hill, and I said, Red, here, there's Super 2. And I grabbed my bow and I've told Red, it's like, hey, let's make sure we get in tight because we got a great second angle camera, and however Red grips it, just whatever, he took a 24 by 240 lens, and as he went like this, the screen just went whoosh, nothing. This deer's 33 yards right there in front of me. And so I turn around. I don't know what's going on. We're full freak out mode, right? And so I ping my bow back up, get my second angle camera screwed off the second angle arm.
Are you in a box blind?
No, I'm in a tree stand. And I turn around, kind of get it focused, give it to Rhett, grab my bow. Now the doe and the buck that were with him are gone. Now, if they came on this right side of this ridge, they're going to be right here in front of me. But if they went the other way, he's gone in like 5 steps. So I just grabbed my bow, drew real quick and shot, hit him right in the point of the shoulder. I thought I killed him though, because the way he kind of jumped, you know, I even said afterwards, I've never been so excited and so upset all at the same time, right? Because I didn't know if we got it or what. But ended up finding, you know, Donnie Vincent came, we tracked, only got this much foot penetration. And then my dumb ass, I knew where he got these pictures from, where I thought he really wanted to go back to.
Because you ended up getting him on trail camera walking
multiple times afterwards.
After that.
Yeah. Well, where that video was that I just gave Ben a little bit ago, we have a trail cam pictures of me and Rhett walking into the tree. There's the tree. The camera's right here. And another crossing I put in, culvert crossing I put in. We walked back out because I wasn't sure about the wind. And then right at 5 o'clock, here he is. He walks right there.
Right to your stand.
Right to us. We would have stayed there.
But
I'm too stupid.
So why did you get down though?
I just didn't. Well, I
never got up, did you?
never got up in the stand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We got there and like, I just don't really feel like he came from the opposite way though. I thought he was coming from the east. He actually came from the west. And I was just not, plus I was extremely disappointed with what happened that morning.
Because that was that evening. So it's the same day that you hit him in the shoulder that morning. That evening, you go to the spot where you think you're going to see him. You get to the spot. You decide the wind is iffy. Let's back out of here and go to a different stand. And then at 5 o'clock, he walks to the stand you left.
Yeah. Makes you feel good.
I know what I'm doing.
So
I had to call that hotline number that they advertised.
So if things would have went well, you potentially would have had 2 opportunities at a world-class deer on the same day.
Oh my God.
At the same one after hitting him that morning.
Yeah.
Which that's the rare part of the story, really. Because, I mean, some of us have hit deer before. And you think, I don't know where the hell this thing's going to go now. You know what I mean? Like, no way he's going to be sticking around here. He's going to lay down. He's going to lay down and stay down for a week or 2 weeks or nurse the wound or whatever. That's kind of the thought process, isn't it?
Right. And my thought process is always, and maybe it's right or wrong, just what I believe is that they want to go back where they're most comfortable.
Sure.
And where that is where their core home area is. And by the pictures we got, I knew it was right here by this 50 acres of neighbors. It's somewhere right there is where he wanted to be. And that's where the stands were. And that's why that camera's there. And that's where we got his first picture in the summer coming across that crossing. You know, that's where we got him. I knew he was close to there, you know. So I just, again, smart enough to know it, but not smart enough to do it.
And how big do you think that deer was?
Well, I know he was 202.
And how do you know that?
Because you're setting me up here, aren't you? Yeah. Well, the night, a Friday morning of gun season, I'm in the stand that I'd shot him out of in that morning. And boom, I get a notification, look at the trail cam and get a notification, stealth cam. There he is. He's 150 yards, but he's walking towards the neighbors. He'd probably went by me in the dark or, you know, wasn't sure. But then I hear a gunshot like 10 minutes later. So I call the neighbor at noon when I get out and like, hey, Bill, did you guys shoot one? He goes, my brother-in-law said he shot at a 6-pointer. It was limping, but he missed. So I got all kinds of thoughts in my head going.
Kind of matches up.
How many deer? But he's a 202. You're calling it a 6-pointer?
Well, who knows? What
6
that
on one side, maybe.
Saying, yeah.
Right, because obviously, it wasn't a 6-pointer limping. It was a 202 limping, right? But I'm thinking, okay, he's still alive, right? I don't know how, but he's still alive. That was Friday morning. Saturday night, I'm hunting in the back beans where I've had really good success. And this deer called Tank, they ended up killing this huge palmated deer. It's like, it's really as wide as your hand, right? 7-year-old deer comes in. I kill him. Super pumped up about it. You know, Donnie Vincent was there. We're all having a good time. And then, is that night of the next morning, I call Bill again because I heard a couple shots Saturday night. Because we didn't get anything, but my brother-in-law found that deer that he shot Friday morning walking out of his stand Saturday night in the dark. So he never even looked for it on Friday. So that's, it's frustrating, that,
that gun season in every state is a real.
Everybody's got these horror stories,
equalizer, isn't it?
It's like, no effort really, just shows up and then doesn't go look for it. That's my only issue. It's like, hey, he can kill it, but that's great. But just give the deer the courtesy to go look for it.
He thought it was a 6-pointer.
That's what I was told. Obviously, I know I don't think that's true, but maybe he didn't want to let anybody know that this big deer was there. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. The deer's dead, and I can sit here and cry about it, and I probably do a lot. Will so
I would.
Here's a question for you then. Do you find yourself randomly at night? Or you wake up early in the morning. You're sitting there. You got time on your head. Your thoughts to yourself. Do you think about the shot?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
I randomly woke up the other night at like 3 a.m. and I couldn't fall back asleep. And the next 3 hours before I just finally decided to get up, I thought about a million things, and almost all of them go back to like my elk hunt in Idaho, where I screwed up, or this deer that I missed, or that, what I mean? It's like, why is it that you just can only go back to those mess ups and not really the success?
I had that much farther to the left I could have shot, and a deer maybe not going to die in 20 yards, but anywhere between the front leg and back leg, if you give them time, they can't survive that wound, right? But this last couple of years taught me a lesson, and it's humbling, but I've been bow hunting a long time, shooting a bow forever, and it's easy. It's like riding a bike. Well, I hadn't practiced as much. In the last couple of years, I've had more screw ups. Some of it was, me, some of it was bumping camera arms and all the stuff because of filming, but it boils down to it. It's my own fault. I don't think I practice enough, and, just subtle things, and just especially under the gun when you're a 200-inch deer and all these things, practice makes perfect. And I'm not going to let that happen again. So, that's been my refocus, is like my son Cooper is unbelievable shot with a bow and back tension release and all this stuff. And he's 70 yards. He's putting them like this and
fancy.
So I'm just like, I gotta do better at that. So
there is a spiritual component to bow hunting that I think if you embrace it, makes you a better person. The personal responsibility side of things, you can blame your equipment if you want. You can blame the coyote that ran through or whatever, but ultimately it all comes down to you and what you can and can't do.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly right. It's handling I played athletics in school and college and stuff. And I look at it like, I've been in the free throw line, to win a game and a putt to win a tournament. Right. And you're like, that's the feeling you get every time you're bow hunting. It's like I tell people, it's like, if you're good at that, it's the same pressure, being at the free throw line at the end of the game when everybody's watching you, and, some people want the ball, some people don't. Right. And you got to be the guy that wants the ball at the end of the game to be successful, in my opinion, to be really good on those deer that like make your heart go, changes your whole deal.
Yeah, you could practice. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Tim, about the spiritual side kind of thing about it, but you could practice all you want too, and be ready and think you're ready. And then that time when things start happening fast, and if you don't slow it down, that's when you screw up.
And that's why I think athletes are really good in that moment, because they've been there.
We've seen it for 2 decades, with Tommy or Wayno or these guys, Kyle McClellan, like they make the shots in the high pressure, tense situations. And Jim's always said it. It's been his saying since we've ever known him was slow the game down. Well, it's easy to say, but in the moment, sometimes your eyes roll back in your head. You know what I mean?
It's that experience, right? They've done it a lot and they know how to do it. It's like Tiger Woods slowed the game down. I mean, he was the best. And I think the guys that are successful bow hunters do that same thing. Yeah.
The Mark Drurys, the Lee Lukoski, those guys, Terry, that they're just, they've done it enough times where they've made the shot, right?
Yeah. And that's the trick. Like the whole time on task piece is just doing it over and over again and getting comfortable with the discomfort there.
That's where I think I've screwed up more than anything, is not like not shooting enough does maybe early on, or every year you go in saying like, I'm going to shoot some does early and knock the cob. What Dad says it all the time. Like you should come up and shoot some does. And it's like trying to find the time to go do it is because if you actually get the time to go hunt, I'm always thinking like, this is like the one time for this 2 weeks that I'm going to get to hunt. I'm not going to go shoot a doe.
When I was in the just straight killing mode, 15, 18 years ago, I mean, I would kill dozens of deer, 10, 12, 15 of them a year. I would go out and I didn't mind gutting a deer and doing all the work that goes into it. Right. And, and I was killing 10 or 15 off my own property. And so that's and I think I've gotten away from that, which is, I don't think I'm quite as good at the bow as I used to be. I know I'm not because I didn't do those things, to your point.
Yeah.
Yes. Someone at one point described archery as having a box of like 1,000 knives and you have to keep them all sharp all the time in order for everything to go right.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Pete Shapley kind of talked about that too. Like give yourself a job, like as you're trying to, like when the moment of truth came, like give yourself something to do so you don't get, because the question specifically, when we used to do the Pete's tips or whatever on Bow Madness, I think the question was something about getting nervous, which hasn't really been my issue. The nervous part hasn't been my issue, but I think the slowing the game down has been my issue. And he's always saying like, give yourself something to do. So I don't know whether it's like, all right, I ranged him. Am I knocked in the right spot or whatever your
mind
procedure is to take
drop an arrow.
That's right.
That's what I've always said about self-filming. It is the ultimate to take your mind off really what's going on because it's one thing to kill a deer bow hunting, another thing to kill it with a cameraman with two people. Then it's another thing to kill it, get all on film yourself as the cameraman and the bow hunter.
I don't know how you guys do it. I couldn't do it. I know I couldn't.
I almost didn't this past year. Some years I don't.
Yeah.
But to your point, it takes your mind off. You can't really get that worked up because you're so worried about your mind's on the camera.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, shooting it. Sometimes I may be more worked up when Rhett's with me because I don't have all that to think about.
So here's a question for both of you guys then. Would you rather a scenario where a buck just happens upon you, surprises you, no prep time, or would you rather watch it for 5, 10, 15 minutes before it comes into range?
Well, if I'm just going to kill it, I'd rather just show up and I shoot it. But obviously we're in this thing for filming. So I would much rather it be out there and give myself
for the
a chance.
production side.
But
I would much rather be out there ways, but for different reasons. Because I'll always have a camera guy with me, so I'm not worried about that part. I know they're going to get it. The part I worry about, it gives me extreme anxiety, is the ranging. If they're on the move, the ranging and the dialing and shooting. Like if they're on the move quick, like if they're in a food plot and I'm like, okay, 40 yards, boom, he's calm, I feel fine about it. If he comes in the rut or whatever, and it's like, I sit there in a stand and I think about, I rearrange trees 1,000 times. I cannot remember.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, all right, this is 25. This is 35. I got a 2-pin sight. My HHA set at 20 and 35 or whatever. If he's here, just aim in the middle.
10 minutes later, wait, how far is that?
I can remember my telephone number from when I was 10 and lived in Morris, Illinois.
Yeah.
But I start ranging trees in the woods 15 minutes later.
I swear one of these years, I'm just going to go start like in the preseason, like marking the damn trees. So I got a general range around an umbrella around me of
like the 150 yard marker in the golf course, right? You just put a post out there and paint it red. That's 30,
31, 33.
Back when I was bow hunting in the 90s, we didn't have range finders. And so that we just kind of stepped it off from the tree.
You put something in stick a stick out there. You just putting scent everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like, just
the stuff.
Yeah. Stuff you didn't know about.
Yeah.
So, you guys, you filmed Kevin Boskamp, one of your good friends. You filmed him kill a 174, I think.
174, 75, right in there, yeah.
He gets 2 shots at it with his bow.
Yeah, which is how often does that happen, right?
Not enough.
He shot it twice, and he hit it both times, his back, but then the deer died, then shot him at 50, right at 48 yards, ran to about the same distance, shot him again. He runs 20 yards, falls over dead. He's the luckiest human being on the planet.
Yeah,
by the
I
way.
know
does
some of
not
those people.
happen.
He started coming to Illinois. We became great friends through business. He was always a Texas guy, rifle hunter. He started bow hunting out with Stan out in New Mexico with Jerry Jones's son-in-law at the time and some other guys. They took the Cowboys bus out there.
Wow.
And they stayed in that and they hunted elk. And he just fell in love with bow hunting elk, right?
Sure.
Stan says, "Hey, you need to meet Mark Beck." And I was going to raise some capital for the company. So that's what I did. Ended up going to work for him, investing in the company. But I said, we got to know each other, hit it off. He used to be a golf pro. I used to be a golf pro. We had all these similarities, right? And I said, "You need to get on the lease with us." And Stan talked to him. Yep, he's all in. So him and his partner came up. He gets there in the afternoon. I don't know if he hunted that afternoon. He hunted the morning. Then this second hunt of his any time in Illinois, he kills a 160 big heavy buck comes running in. He shoots it. Oh shit, this is easy. and then it gets better. Next year comes in. No, he's a non-resident, so he gets one tag. Next year he comes in, hunts 2 or 3 days, and then Stan saw a giant buck with a doe. So he goes. It's called the 191 stand for a reason. So Kevin jumps in there. To your point earlier, this deer comes running in. Kevin says it's big. He shoots it. And I'm hunting over at home with a really big deer at my house. So I drive over. And there's blood everywhere. And he crosses the road and the neighbors. We get permission. And he said, "I think I hit it good." And Stan's like, "Oh, he's dead. He's bleeding. He's going to be dead right here." So we keep tracking and we keep tracking this. But it's blood. I mean, it's pouring out. I said, "How big is he?" He goes, "I don't know. He's big." I was like, "I don't know." He said, "Just said he was big." I said, "Okay."
He was a 6 point.
So yeah, exactly. We're going through there, and I'm kind of in the lead with Kevin, and this deer jumps up out of the brush pile. It's the deer he shot, right? And it's freaking giant. I said, "Kevin, a deer's
Bigger
giant. It's bigger than you. He's a giant." So he runs off.
How long did you guys wait to start tracking?
Not long enough.
Clearly.
That's always the answer.
But no, it was only like, I think, hour and a half or something.
Oh.
But he thought in the blood, a lot of blood. I mean, it was an easy track job. So we get up there. Now it's harder because he's running. And then I see a deer shoot across this field, and they're like, another buck is up there. We can see it. And that's it. I said, "Guys, that deer that's not him. The deer's twice as big as that one." So we go and I don't track blood everywhere. I don't see red, green colorblind. So I just cut over this corner. He went in there, but I was like, he's got to turn. So I go down there and I see this deer. He's laying there on the ground.
Oh boy.
He's about expired, right? So I go get Kevin and Kevin shoots him again, and he doesn't get up or nothing. He dies there, and he's ended up being 191 inch 10-pointer.
That you jumped.
A typical?
And still recovered. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's essentially typical. He's got a couple little extras, but it's a giant frame. So that's his first 3 years on a lease. He's hunted a total of about 6 times.
He's got to be in love with Illinois.
160, 191, and a 185.
Oh. In Texas no more, boy.
Yeah, no kidding.
But he's lucky. I mean, he's the luckiest man on the planet. Like, then the reality set in, But he's passing up, like this year. But he passed up 4 deer over 170.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know what that's like.
long story, but he's a lucky son of a SOB.
I guess.
Great partner to have on a lease.
I was just going to say, like, when are you kicking him off?
That's why he got his own place now. So, he just had a 213
Yeah.
segue.
So the 213, you guys had tons of photos.
Kevin had a counter at 55 yards, didn't take the shot. He said, I probably could have, but he said, I was shaking so bad. I don't
How many yards?
50, 55.
Okay. With a bow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wasn't comfortable with that on a,
I don't blame him.
a deer like that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, just, especially in the rut. It's one thing if it's October and he's sitting there not moving, right?
Yeah.
But he's in a tree stand. So let him go, and lots of pictures of him. And I was filming him. It was on a Monday night, and we had this tree called the walnut tree where he had the encounter. We got pictures of him all around the area. I said, Kevin, let's move a blind back here in the back, and I think we got a good chance of seeing him. Well, we see him a half a mile away across this little creek right by, not far from Rhett's house, because Rhett got lots of pictures of this deer over the years. He named him Goomer because he just showed up at Goomer Pile. But anyway, we were glassing him, and I really can't get it on camera. It's too far away, but you can just see it's him.
Yeah.
But he's on a no hunting property. Everybody knows
a well-known
no
you
hunting.
do
not go there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a gentleman named Brad Willis, his brother farmed it. He was allowed to shed hunt it, right? That was the only really person allowed out there. And it's like, he's over there and he knows he's safe. He's probably lives there a lot and doesn't get bothered. And it was late season. It was January. Same time I killed my last deer on Kevin's. And then, so we go that night. I get a text from my son, Coop, and there he is in the back of a pickup truck.
Hero shot. dead deer circulating far and wide pretty quick. I would imagine.
Yeah, it was kind of kept quiet there, but it just doesn't, it's going to get out, right? And then, we find out, Rhett actually had the shed from him. Rhett, way nicer than me. He went over there that next morning and gave the guy the shed because he said, hey,
yeah,
it's cool.
Just a nice thing to do, right?
Yeah.
So, but then we find out that later, that not far, that tongue after Rhett left, the conservation showed up, and still the court date's still out there. So say a whole lot except the deer was confiscated, and
under suspicious activity there.
Yeah, just maybe it wasn't killed where it was supposed to be killed.
Yeah.
So
and it was a 213, and that was typical, right? He was like one of the biggest typical
giant frame, right? Yeah. Just
sure, probably had some extra little
bit, but it was a 6x6, 6x7, something like that. Just a giant, you can get the 200-inch deer that looks one way, but this one is, you just feel like you're like this.
Yeah.
So it's a sad time, and a 202 and a 213 were this close, but yet so far away, right?
Literally the season of a lifetime, that close to a season of a lifetime for you and your crew.
Yeah.
And it was still a good season, but like of a lifetime.
I had a 260 in front of me twice and didn't get it done.
Not this year.
No, a long time ago.
Yeah.
So that was a deer I'll never see again.
260.
Mm-hmm.
Who killed him? Neighbor kill him?
Zoo? No, he found dead. Here's a sad thing. I think he was only 4.5 years old.
What?
The year before.
Was that in Central Illinois?
Not far from where all this other stuff took place, but it's the Crossbow buck, and Johnny Crossbow, a great guy, good deer hunter. They find him dead on his property, but because he was a neighbor right next to where I was hunting at. And John Severson, who you guys know, was on the lease. John about killed him too. John had him at 40 yards. Couldn't get a shot.
That make you sick.
I had him walk right underneath me at 20 some yards through standing corn. I couldn't tell what it was, but
too dark.
No, it was just standing corn and kind of thick through branches and stuff. But but the year before he was like 190 with a one drop tine. He ended up being 250.
How do they make that kind of a jump?
It's 60 or 70 inches.
That amazes me. When guys say, "Oh no, it was a 140," that, we've had a couple guys on the podcast through the fall that killed some giants, and like he was like a mainframe 160 last year, and it's like he was 230.
No, it's just that genetic freak that pops up, and this deer was just. The trail cam pictures I got they were with Reconics back then, and they take unbelievable pictures and. It was made the best sequence of trail cameras. They were on North American Whitetail, used them because he came and worked this scrape, and this camera was perfect. I mean, it was just, and it was on no delay. It was just one clip after another, his tongue out. And then every once in a while, I released this one picture. It was in the dark, and some of the magazines used it. I would see it 5, 7, 10 years later, people would be on social media. My cousin got this in
Hey, did they really?
backyard. I'm like,
Okay.
huh. I said, that's funny because that's my picture from 2008. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's weird how people
Boner
are
killer.
so quick to
They want to
lie on social media.
they just want attention.
No, really?
Look how
Never
good a deer
picked up
hunter
on
I am,
that.
right? Look how.
And here, our approach has been the exact opposite. Look how shitty we are.
Look how we don't get shit done.
That's right.
Yeah. We just really enjoy
Look
nature.
how popular we are.
We have an audience of one Rhett's out there just watching the show. It's very poignant.
Hold on. There's a big audience out there, Tim.
They're clapping. Look at that.
Yeah,
Studio.
one guy just yelled.
We have the appearance of popularity.
Studio
Is
audience.
that Al Green?
That's timely.
Good one.
Okay.
Nice.
Good one.
I don't think it would get any more political than the Kenyan episode that we had.
I mean, it wasn't really political. I was just
Oh, you
stating.
would say that.
I was just stating what was going on.
Saying the
I mean,
facts.
we're just kind of stating the facts. We were just talking. We had Mark Kenyon on from Wire
Yeah.
to Hunt, Meat Eater, and all that. And he's very, I guess,
Pro public spaces and public ground.
pretty
and-
dialed into what's going on with, kind of hunters' rights,
Right.
especially out west. And, we were just talking about all the federal layoffs and how it's going to affect public land hunting and obviously the national forests and fisheries and parks and all those things.
Yeah, I mean, happened to have some insight into that administration just through Kevin and some friends but Trump Jr. and he's a huge sports guy and huge sportsman. They were big in saving one of the biggest fishers in Alaska during Trump's first administration that nobody talks about.
Yeah. I brought it up on the last because he did do a lot for us.
Yes, and it just goes unnoticed because it's not going to get, the media's not going to cover those things. So I really, in the short term, there'll be some heartburn,
Yeah.
but in the long run, I think he'll actually create more opportunities for public hunting, on lands, right? Maybe not have a Park Service guy there all the time, but you're going to have access to more federal land, I think, over the long run.
Yeah.
That's kind of what my take was without any knowledge. Just like we've seen this before, he'll make some brash moves and then he'll come back after the fact and kind of
Compromise a little bit.
bob and weave his way back to where it makes more sense. It's like, all right, rip the Band-Aid off and then, we just make me need a little bit of a smaller Band-Aid.
Right. Let's stitch it up just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel bad for the people, obviously, that are losing their jobs. Not all of them are just kind of worthless, government
No, of
workers.
course not. That's
There's
right.
plenty of veterans that are losing their jobs. Like that side of it, I just don't know how I feel about it. It's like, man, I hate to see this part of it happening.
It's the 80-20 rule kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like everywhere.
Yeah.
Kind of like this podcast. Like one of you does some work and one of them doesn't.
Wait a minute.
I don't know, you guys take it from there. I don't know.
Not it.
It's all right.
Crap. Well, the other thing that we wanted to talk about, because right now there's more conversations happening nationally about public health at large.
Absolutely.
And what's happening with, their increased rates of autism, kids being diagnosed with autism, ADHD, like all these diseases that have it's really spiking.
Skyrocketed.
Yeah, from the late 80s, early 90s, then it's really things have changed.
I don't know if this is the right number. I think what I heard them say the other night was used to be like a 1 in 30 or a 1 in 300,000 had autism, and now it's like
134 or
something like that.
And in certain parts of the country, it's even worse, right? So, there's all this vaccination's a big hot topic, right? I don't know, nobody knows for sure, but if you go back and look, it was 89 or 91 when they mandated the vaccines, but you can go back and look at all those things. There's a correlation to we're giving kids 15, 20, 30 vaccinations, right? I just don't think it's healthy, I understand the point of it. And certain vaccines I think are good. There's certain diseases we eliminated because of vaccines.
Well, yeah, there's a measles outbreak because people aren't getting vaccines.
Right.
So it does go, you can swing the pendulum of the wrong direction there.
It's a balancing act like everything else, right? In moderation, I think everything is, you pick and choose your battles, right? But, to your point, I think you're leading to the forever chemicals, right? That's becoming a big topic, and it's going to be even more so. And, getting involved in that quite a bit on the business side. And, as a outdoorsman, I've been looking at, regenerative ag. There's a gentleman named Jason Snavely who has a podcast, Drop Tine Seed Company, who's a big, proponent of regenerative ag. And, I've known him for a long time, and it's been talking. And, we as deer hunters, we all out there, eat what you kill. It's organic. It's better for you, but, if you,
depends on where you kill it.
yeah. And you start to, look into it. And as I've really gotten into this, and I've talked to your dad about it quite a bit on the drinking water side, these forever chemicals are everywhere. And us as sportsmen we're contributing to it, unknowingly. Everybody's heard there's a movie called Dark Waters on Netflix that DuPont was making the Teflon that goes on your pots and pans and causing lots of cancers and birth defects. You can watch it. It's a really good show. But that's the forever chemicals and Gore-Tex, waterproofing, even inside of aluminum cans. Do not eat bagged popcorn, in my opinion. Ooh. It's lined with PFAS when you put your microwave popcorn in there. Even canned goods have it. Anything that creates, you want something to be slick and not absorb water. Mm-hmm. Also, I wouldn't drink Starbucks paper cup with that plastic lining in there, because over time that's been showing that those forever chemicals will leach into your hot drinks and stuff like that. So every time you wash your clothes, like you can go typically the class, like the higher middle upper class contribute more to PFAS than the lower class community, because their clothes have more, waterproofing in it, your carpets, Scotch Guard, all those things are forever chemicals. And even in farm and ag processes, shampoo, things like that. So, there's parts of the country that are warning you not to eat the fish. Even out off of the Oregon, Washington coast, there's articles all the time. There's a website out there that tracks forever chemicals in all the water. It's found in the outback of Australia.
Well, and I think some of the concerns are like the dysregulatory effect those have on hormone production, and even like
sterilization among men are less fertile. All those things. They're saying you have, I don't know how many microplastics in your brain is one of the places they end up. Now, microplastics and the forever chemicals are different, but they're it's related. So everything we're doing is petro-based plastics, right? Everything's going that way.
Don't they say that you have like a credit card's worth of
in your body,
plastic in your body?
Yeah, and your brain's a lot
from
of
microplastics. Yeah,
just like every time you open a water bottle, you twist that cap off. There's, if you use a cutting board, what's plastic cutting board, I highly recommend you get rid of those. Go to wood.
Yeah.
But I just think back to the deer hunting thing as an outdoorsman, I think we need to be more aware of that. And I'm going to try to go less chemicals, put more cover crops on, crimp it, and then plant through that. It's just like having a mulch bed, right? So you don't have to use as much of this man-made chemicals and fertilizers.
I think Dr. Grant Woods is a big proponent of regenerative farming also.
Yeah, I really think it's the future. And I think you're going to see a lot of more robotic. You'll be able to control your weeds through, robotics just out there. They use vision and laser and they burn them. And
that's cool. I've seen some video of that.
Yeah. There's a company out in Kansas. I can't remember the name. They make them now. They have some that are 15, 20 feet wide. Then they have ones that just go down a single row.
And they identify and burn them with laser, the weeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
That seems like, I don't understand how that could be cost effective. And like, how long would these big farmers, where you're tens of thousands of acres of farmland, like how the hell could they?
I think they're using solar, a lot of it, to power them, But if you think about it, like that thing, they work all night. They never call in sick.
True. They're just constantly going.
They're going 24/7, right?
It's all probably GPS.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everything's mapped out within, the GPS. You can just ride in a tractor.
Crazy.
You don't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
It's amazing, the technology, but it's something I'm getting involved with. And I really think you're going to hear more about the PFAS type stuff in the future. And with, like you said, with the new Health, Kennedy coming in, and then the EPA just passed in the Biden administration. They've limited 6 of them in your drinking water, and you can go on a map and look at your community, and you can look at their water and see what the rate is.
Okay.
Of all these different chemicals.
So a forever chemical, basically, it's something that you can't burn it off. You can't, like, it will not, no matter what you do, it's not going anywhere.
Well, the problem is they can, it's parts per trillion. So it can't be more than like 4 parts per trillion. So think about that. So if you have 1 trillion gallons of water, there's 1 gallon of PFAS in there. So how do you, it's the magnification
over time, right?
Well, how do you find it, right? Out of all of that, right? And then how do you then collect it and get rid of it? And then they do that now through GAC, it's granulated activated carbon, which is what they use, but it's great, takes up enormous space. You can put tens of millions of gallons of water in there. Mm-hmm. The carbon will end up getting most of that forever chemical out. Yeah. But here's where the issue comes in.
It filters it out.
It filters it out, but then they take, depends on what you're doing, every twice a year, they have to suck all that carbon out. Then they take it somewhere, and then it's incinerated. And then it goes there and goes back. All they're doing is, or they take it to a landfill, and then it's all leaching out of the landfill. So all they're doing is recycling. They're not getting rid of it. Okay. So that's the issue. But I'm working with an organization that has come up with some new technology that can actually they can kill it in batch processes, right? So if you gave them 100 gallons, they can take the PFAS out of there and remove it and destroy it. Well, not in a drinking water. We're using 80 million gallons a day or 50 million gallons, whatever it is in a city, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this company I'm involved with, they are ability to take the water through it, continuous flow, identify the PFAS, the long chain, medium chain, short chain polymers, and then isolate that down from 1 million gallons into something about this big. Wow. And they can destroy those at a continuous basis. So it's going to change everything about what we know about PFAS and how to get rid of them. So from the industrial plant that's kicking it out into your rivers to your drinking water, to your wastewater, and then they're working on a home unit where you'll be able to treat your water at your home. So like Camp Lejeune was
I've seen the stupid ads.
Yeah.
Right. But,
and my father-in-law was actually stationed there.
Oh,
right.
boy.
So there's a lot of that's going on. And so there's a big implication for all the military bases. Firefighter foam is one of the biggest contributors to PFAS. That's that foam that they treat fires with. That is, just enormous amount of PFAS. That's the problem. So every single Air Force place is a, nightmare. Yeah. So
do you think they ever get to the point where they regulate, like Gore-Tex? I thought I saw not long ago there was a lawsuit.
They're being sued.
Yeah, against Gore-Tex for the forever chemicals. And
there's hundreds of billions of dollars of lawsuits right now with, you name a chemical company, they're all getting sued from, and even communities are suing companies, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's a blame game, right? Well, we're
following EPA's guidelines.
Right. And that's those EPA just, said 6 of these have to be changed, but that's for drinking water. The wastewater is different. So I was in Texas in Dallas with Kevin, with Mr. Lucky, and we were on the news. It was, I can't remember what county. Texas declared an emergency over PFAS.
Wow.
Dead fish and dead cows.
Oh.
And this calf was born, lived 2 days. They did a necropsy on it, and they found its liver had like 300,000 parts. He said, the guy said, I couldn't sell this. I had no way I could sell this to have somebody eat this because it's so full. And that calf got it from mom, right? Because it wasn't even 2 days old. So that's how
it's good. Like even if the calf goes and decomposes somewhere, the chemicals are still
right. It still just goes. It goes right back in soil. And what they think is that wastewater solids that they took to fertilizer, they were spreading it. A company was spreading it on spreading it on the farm field as fertilizer. But what they were doing was it was high concentrations of PFAS coming from sewage treatment plants. So,
man, there's so much more. Like, I think as a society, we're pretty ignorantly maybe about what I mean.
Blissfully ignorant.
Yeah, there you go. So, but
Don't correct him. I just go with it.
no, but in general, you see what I'm saying? Like, I think, obviously, like some people are very clued into this, and there's activists and all that. But by and large, as a society, we have no freaking clue.
We walked down the street because I asked people. A lot of people don't know what I'm talking about.
I just picture Mark going, "Hey, what can you tell me about PFAS?
Yeah,
Who are you? What?
Like even
what
just,
is this?
just friends, like friends that you just you can talk that conversation with, and then you really don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you say forever chemicals. Oh yeah, I heard something about that, but they really don't. It's not been out there because here's what I think. There's never been a solution. Yeah. So I was going to talk about
That's a tough subject to bring up if there's no
when there's no solution, right? But I think we're onto something here.
Well,
so it's
if you
be
think
exciting.
about the rates in which cancer, we have a cancer problem in our society, like everything, all these rates are skyrocketing. You think, okay, what happened or what changed? And it's like innovation. The innovation,
right? Absolutely
changed about the same time.
Yeah, but you think about it, like I've always wondered as a kid, what are the things that are we going to learn about in a lifetime that were insane? Like when I grew up, everyone smoked. It was just a thing. We talked about seatbelts.
What's wrong with that?
When the town I grew up in is, Rhett and I were talking about this before the show started, is Ottawa, Illinois, but it's also known as Radium City because they were painting at the Westclox factory. They were using radium laced paint to paint the little hash marks on
so
clocks.
They glow in the dark.
Yeah, and these women were using these little horsehair brushes, painting, licking it a little bit to get a fine point on the brush, and then putting it back in the canister of paint. And it's pretty one of the first ladies, her jaw literally deteriorated and fell off. Like she lost her lower jaw before she.
You want to go down a real rabbit hole? Go to like Wikipedia or just whatever. Do a Google search on that stuff, and it's amazing how many of the ladies from back then that were doing, whatever, it might have been some of the work for the war or whatever it was, the cancer that they got out of that, and just tongue, jaw, throat, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So like every generation has this aha moment, like, oh, hey, maybe doctors shouldn't be. Yeah. Don't eat those paint chips, kids.
Like how stupid were we, right? That's going to look back and say, those guys were, they were doing this and killing themselves, right?
Literally, doctors were prescribing cigarettes at one point in our history.
A little hot toddy and a cig. What more can you need? If that doesn't fix you, you're a sissy.
Just a little shot of bourbon make you all better.
But there comes a point where there's a tipping point. Like, okay, we know too much. We can't just sit here idly. We have to do something about it. And then you wonder, like, are we going to overcorrect it? Like, there's a whole thing.
Then the real problem there is the amount of money that's tied behind it. And that's where I think it becomes an issue, is like, for society as a large, you're just like, okay, well, what can I do about it? And you think, okay, well, maybe we can vote this person out or vote that person out. And that's how but then you don't know who's in the bag. You're kind of getting a good dose of how bad the government really is and who all's in the bag for big business and government, is how they're tied together.
Absolutely. Who's getting paid what to lobby against this or that?
Yeah. Did you guys notice during the show, the light on the U.S. flag went out?
No, I did.
I mean, I'm not saying
that's a real conspiracy theory
screwing with us, but
if it turned upside down, then we'd have problems.
That's right. Yeah, it's a lot out there we don't know yet, right? But I think we're going to make headway on this.
Yeah, cool. Keep us updated.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Rhett, trying to get Rhett involved with his background at EPA.
Sure.
So, he retired, so we're going to pull him back out and make him.
I was going to talk to him about being a professional audience member for this show, but maybe this is a more lucrative.
Just a 2-hour drive, but you got all the energy drink you can.
That's energy juice
you can drink.
Here's some what more could you want for you?
I could probably throw some protein sticks in too.
Oh, wow, sweeten the deal.
That's right.
But,
sweet and savory, Tim.
Oh yeah, just like this show. All right. You guys ready to jump over to hit or miss here?
Yeah, Tim.
All right, let's do it.
This segment of 100% Wild is brought to you by PH Outdoors. Check out the full line of the G Series and brand new M Series drills at phoutdoors.com.
All right. In January, a Kansas bill that would remove a non-resident landowner's ability to hunt in the state was introduced. Proponents of the bill cite prioritization of resident hunters, protection of local economies, and support for sustainable hunting practices. While opponents anticipate economic downturn in rural areas, legal challenges from non-resident landowners, and diminished conservation resources through loss of revenue. So while online reports conflict regarding this specific bill's future, if a bill like this would be passed, is it a hit or miss for hunting in that state? So outlawing non-resident hunting in Kansas.
It's a big, miss. To me, I think it's a big miss they can't even, to me, most of the land's private anyway, right? So if you own it as a resident or a non-resident, you're still privately owned and you can restrict who goes on there regardless, right? That's my opinion on it. Mm-hmm. And also from a, real estate value standpoint, it's going to hurt.
Oh yeah.
It's going to hurt the local people's, they're talking about tax dollars. I think it's going to decrease their tax revenue. It's going to decrease property prices. There's no question about it. That's my opinion.
I would say it depends on which side. So if you're a resident, so that's a good point about the residents and their land prices. But if you're maybe a Kansas, I'm going to say miss, but here's the hit. If you're a Kansas resident and you're concerned about
Kansasite,
you may be concerned about the size of the deer, maybe there's overcrowding on hunting or whatever, turkey population's down, whatever the case may be. You think, here's a way, look at Iowa, here's a way that we could fix it. And maybe it's just a draw, it's a draw anyways, but maybe it's a little bit harder to start getting the tag. Last time I tried drawing, it took me 2 years to get a tag. So it wasn't exactly easy to begin with. That was a gun tag. Right. And now Iowa, it's like 5 or 6 years sometimes, depending on the zone for a bow tag, every other year for a gun tag. So I could see maybe where the local population would be like, oh, this could be a good thing. I'm sure it was probably a local group that put the bill out there. Right. But from a non-resident perspective, total miss, because there is a ton of revenue that you generate from people traveling in, lodging and gas and all the other things. Yeah. And Kansas is one of those states where, the land, there's big tracts of land that could be purchased out there. It's not so broken up, probably because it's so vast, but it's not so broken up like it is in some of the other places in the country.
Right. You can go 20 miles without seeing a tree.
Yeah.
But I just think that, the non-resident will be more of a manager than the resident, in my opinion. They're there if they're going to come and spend money, this is just my take on it. I've been in real estate a long time as well, but I just think if I'm buying land in Kansas, I'm going there to shoot a mature deer, right? From the deer population, even to turkey hunting. If you're a resident, you're probably going to kill more animals and kill more things than you would if you're a non-resident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but a resident's probably also doing more land management work, or you would think, than a non-resident coming in maybe once or twice, a year. They're there all year. They could work on making their habitat better, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it probably depends on the level of hunting.
But if I'm just being a little argumentative with you, but taking the other side is that
energy juice. Yeah, let's
go. Well, I run through this wall.
I think that if you're a private landowner in Kansas, you already own your land. Now, if you're saying the resident who's from the town or doesn't own land, he's looking for public land, whether I own it or a guy from in-state owns it, he's not hunting my property because it's private. Mm-hmm. How does it? It's public land's the only thing we're really talking about that's affected by, because it's all privately owned. So I don't know how it helps the guy that isn't. Maybe he can knock on doors and maybe get a few more places to hunt if it's more owned locally.
Yeah.
I can see that. But, there's just not a lot of, and people won't agree with me and everybody has their opinion. It's okay. But to me, I just don't think it's and I would argue, I read an article on the way last night actually about how Iowa they think is going like this because, the residents kill $3 and all this things that they're talking about. Iowa's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything I ever see, it seems like it's doing pretty good. I guess it depends on what part of the state you're in.
And they talk about where your dad's at and
Mark.
Mark, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the area that's because there's so many big landowners that manage it's the TV haven, right?
Yeah.
But you go to Southeast Iowa, Northeast Iowa, I just was reading an article it just was funny as yesterday about it. how they think Iowa's not what it used to be.
Well, I know there's, is it the Iowa Sportsman's Alliance? I know like Chris Duncan and Taylor Riggin and some of those guys have a group that they put together, and they are trying to protect the Iowa residents' rights and kind of the habitat and make sure everything is there for generations and the quality is there for generations, I think is the biggest thing. So
like the party hunting where you can, that's all that's hard for me to get past, but I know it's a tradition.
Well, they got rid of, you can't be a non-resident and party hunt. They got rid of that last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you can't the only party hunting I think you can do is if you're a legal resident of Iowa. And I don't even know, they may have changed. I'm not up on it. They may have changed it even further than that. But I know you can't be a non-resident anymore and have a doe tag and then party hunt with someone. That they got rid of last year.
Okay.
So I know like a lot of out-of-staters were selling their ground or getting rid of their leases because it's like, okay, well now I won't be able to draw a tag for 5 years.
You spend $1 million and pay whatever year in taxes and then can't even hunt it.
I think what I saw those guys debating was the amount of acreage. What is the amount of acreage that should constitute a resident getting that third buck tag? Because if you're a resident landowner, you can get a third buck tag, right? And I think they were trying to constitute if it should be 4 acres or 40 acres or I don't know, it may have been 2 or 20. I forget the exact number, but it was very nitpicky. And then of course you got guys that are like, hey, I got I'm on the small side of that. I got the 4 acres and like I kill a deer every year off my ground. Like why should it be that because I don't own 40 that I can't have my 3 buck tags or whatever? I don't know. It's crazy. You get into the line. You get into the nitpicky part of that, and it's like, ooh, that's a real gray area.
Think about it. How many to the point of $3, right? If you knocked it down to $2 per person, regardless, right? And then how many non-resident landowners? I think you would save more deer by just making the residents only can kill 2 deer, and all those that you'll save was more than the non-resident landowners combined. You know,
Missouri used to be a 3 buck tag state as well. And we talked about it often because I know dad usually killed his 3, through the season. But you would think like how many people actually are doing that? How much is that actually affecting?
It's like guys killing 2 turkeys in the spring. It's rare. Most guys kill 1.
And I'm sure the MDC, obviously the MDC would have the numbers, but like it probably isn't that much. But from a public perspective, if you're saying the deer herd's down or whatever, like here's an area where, okay, we'll get rid of the 3rd buck tag and it'll make people seem like we're doing something, but really not.
With a crossbow though, that changes everything. It's like you can. It's basically like gun hunting throughout the season. It's pretty easy.
Out to like 50, 60 yards, you get those really expensive crossbows that you can go.
I got a guy shooting them 80, 100 yards and putting them all in there like this.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It's like, give me a crossbow and every deer that I've had a chance to kill would be dead.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think the combination of the crossbows coming in and being so prolific, just like in Illinois, there's more deer killed in an archery season than gun season now.
Which is crazy.
Which is just because of
the crossbows.
Because now the guy who's a gun hunter, instead of having 7 days, now he has all year to go out there.
Yeah.
So they're killing more. They're killing, opposite what you said, they're actually killing more deer now because they have an opportunity to shoot one with the crossbow all year and then still do their
gun hunt,
deer camp, drunk fest that they have and you kill a deer, which is fine. It's a tradition. It's all great, but the numbers are getting hurt because of the number of crossbows that permits that are out there.
Now that's a whole different hot topic. The crossbows, whether it's its own season or right. I don't know if the cat's kind of so far out of the bag, I don't know if they can
reel it back in.
Yeah, and make it its own season. But you definitely hear rumbles of that where people are like, I think it should be its own season.
I wonder how much of the social stigma about crossbows precludes guys from using them.
Oh, I don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's as much as you think. I think it's becomes.
You don't know what I think.
Well, probably good. I think it's become so widely accepted by and large, other than from purist kind of whitetail bow hunters, that people like, I don't give a shit if they, I just know like the people I know that use them,
practical group of people,
the people that I know that use them, they're like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, I just take your crossbow. It's like, I don't want to take my crossbow. I want to try killing with my compound,
I'm not going to use one until I have to.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just here's what drives me crazy, and I'm not going to make any friends with this, but I see people post on. Let me start over.
Okay.
I wish that was bourbon, but it's not. So many people post pictures on Facebook and social media of their deer, and you see a deer during the archery season. There's no bow with it or nothing.
Yeah, crossbow.
It's an automatic crossbow, but you really want to show how great you are, but yet you won't own it. Just put the crossbow in there. Well, we all know you killed it with a crossbow because you don't have your picture in there. Mm-hmm. Most guys, if they gun hunt, they got their orange on, they got their gun there, they use their compound, a recurve, it's in there, but you can 99% of the time, if there's a guy with
coming through,
they don't want to admit that they used a crossbow.
I will say, so not to be hypocritical, I killed a buck with a crossbow maybe 3 years ago.
You put your compound in there?
Oh yeah, of course. And no, not my compound. I put my crossbow in the picture and I got killed over it. I really did. And it was the very end of the season. It was like the last week of the season. I had a shitty season. I hunted probably 40 something days with a compound bow.
Right.
And it was like, I'm killing this deer. And so it'd be very hypocritical to say otherwise, because I used a crossbow I was totally fine I was taking both weapons. My camera guy had a tag still.
Right.
He took the crossbow, I took the compound, and sure enough, here the deer we're after finally comes out, but he's at 50 something yards and I didn't feel comfortable shooting him with my compound, but I was wanting to kill him. So I took that crossbow.
But you owned it though.
Oh yeah, I owned it. That's and I took some definite heat for it. And I haven't used one since.
That picture thing makes a lot of sense. Looking back, my high school prom date, I was not fully in the frame of any of the pictures.
Any of them.
And this
zero.
Yeah. Like, there's Tim's shoulder.
Now that you think back, you're not even in your wedding photos.
It wasn't a wedding. We eloped.
But that's all. It's like, if you're going to use it, own it. That's fine. It's legal. Go ahead. I'm not against that.
You got to own it so people can make fun of you.
Right. No, Mark's going to start a hashtag WTW. Where's the weapon?
Yeah, exactly.
Every hero picture this coming fall.
Big question mark.
That is true. Yeah.
It's true though.
Yeah. If you love it, then be proud of it.
We have a mutual friend that, he's always like, crossbow. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm just, this is way too early in the season to be taking this crossbow. Like, it's my desperation mode at the end of the season. And that's probably bullshit that I do that, but I have done that. And I don't know, man, it's not just a hobby for us. It's also our living. So if you get to the end of the season, you're not killing anything. Done. Sometimes you need to kill something.
You succumb to the pressure, right?
Yeah.
I've
not a great excuse at all.
I've only killed one deer with a gun. One buck with a gun in my life.
See, now if it wasn't for firearm season, I would be screwed. Like I get even.
It was a 197, so it was a good one.
No. 7? 107? 117?
It had antlers.
Oh no, that was your Oklahoma buck. That was a nice deer. That was a trip for Leopold, and that was one of those deals.
Mossy Oak gang.
Yeah,
mine was Oklahoma also.
It was beautiful.
That was a cool hunt of yours.
Oh man,
neat buck.
It was so weird being a bow hunter. My entire hunting career.
Elitist.
Like, if I can see that deer at 100 yards, he's in range. It just kept blowing my mind that
you guys should get with the program.
Unreal.
I went to Oklahoma and it was the gun season like on the 21st. And so I scouted this place. It's small, but giant, right? Just a giant deer. And so I said, okay, I'm going to put this lone wolf stand I had with me at the time in this tree. I thought he's going to come there. So I put this tree stand up but I thought, well, I don't know. There's still one day of gun, so I'll just gun hunt. So there was an old well site out in the middle of the field, all grown up with a concrete platform. So I put a chair there, my tripod and a shooting stick, and I sat there. And sure enough, this big deer comes walking out right down to that corner right underneath my stand where I was going to bow hunt the next day when the gun season ended. And he stood there, and I'm like, shoot him.
Got him.
There you go. And it's like, I was zero nerves, even though
it is a much different feeling
because
You're not worried about them picking up on you or
No,
anything.
I could have been smoking. I could have been.
That's what
Cussing?
most people do.
Yeah.
drinking energy.
I could have been
Bourbon.
juicing it. There's nothing I would have. I mean, it's just there.
You need to let First Form know you got a new slogan for them. Juicing it.
Juicing.
Probably not good for First Form to
I
be
think that's taken.
associated with juicing it.
Sounds good, but I was not nervous. I just didn't. It didn't give me the
connection.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No,
It's different.
I wouldn't do it.
It's
again.
definitely a different feeling for sure. But I what's weird to me, I guess, is that you don't have as much of a, you guys are probably the outliers. Like you've both only
Handsome.
killed one deer, only one deer with a gun, but most guys have no problem using a firearm during the firearm season, archery hunters. But why is it so negative to be using a crossbow? You think about that.
because the gun season lasts 120 days, like
Doesn't last
Bow-
120
right,
days.
yeah.
Bow season
Bow
lasts
season.
120 days.
or whatever. Right? I mean, it's just the whole season. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all. That's
Is
all.
that's it. It's
for
that,
me,
it's that it gives you a better chance all season long with a crossbow versus just the 2 weeks of gun season.
Like Stan Potts. Stan uses a crossbow, and he's,
I mean,
he's
how
always
old is Stan now?
73, 74.
That's
God bless him.
yeah.
But he still uses his compound. He still climbs the trees, unbelievable shape.
Stan's the man.
And, he's like, you can shoot 50 yards with your bow. I don't shoot my crossbow any farther. And I said, Stan, that's not the point. I said,
Not
I
as
can't,
well.
I can't sit there. I can't sit there with my bow for 5 minutes looking through a scope, waiting for him to give me the perfect opportunity. I said, I got to draw the bow back and hold it for a minute. Then I got to let back down.
Oh yeah, the skills. There's a different level of skill for sure.
I said, that's what the difference is. You don't have to really make any decisions with a crossbow that like you do with a bow, when to draw, all those things. I said, you can just sit there on your shooting stick and just,
Well, on a
walk to the
crossbow,
timber.
you gotta keep your eyes open.
Hey, it's not as easy as it looks.
but it's, that's all it is.
I'll tell you this much: they're fun to. They are fun to shoot. Like with Cameron, Cameron, my son, he's 10. We went out and to try to get his first deer with a archery, with a compound, or with a crossbow,
which is great. I love it.
And so just practicing it, like it's fun to it's like boop.
Oh,
My daughter's shooting it. And I guess maybe that's why people get as upset as anything, because it doesn't take the same amount of skill with a crossbow as it does a compound.
100%. But I think crossbows are unbelievable for kids. You can get them out there earlier. They don't have that recoil of the gun. I mean, you can get somebody in the woods, in the outdoors, experienced deer hunting or turkey hunting with a crossbow. And I think that's fantastic. That's what I did, right? It's like I have one because of those reasons. And also I think it's a great doe management tool. You can go out there and
It's like my daughter has dresses, but I don't wear them.
Sure,
I
you
thought
sure
you
about that?
did. Your,
I don't
your
think
wife,
so,
your
Jay.
wife's
Did I say
dresses.
don't?
But I don't know. I don't know. I think you look at this and what's a traditional archery guy? What's Donnie Vincent think about? He's getting way into. It's probably not the best example, but maybe somebody that's only always done traditional
They
archery.
think what I'm doing is
Compound.
Right.
They think
There's-
like, man, that's so easy. There's no skill level there versus what I'm
And
doing.
then there's
with
the
a
Atlatl guys.
there's
Yeah.
some truth to that. I mean, all those things are true. Where do you draw the line, right?
That's the thing. Where do you draw the line? But I mean, like I said, it's out there now. Like, how can you reel it back in? Although trail cameras, cell cameras were out there, and like states are reeling those in for public land, so it can be done.
It's easy. The line is everyone who doesn't do what I do is wrong.
That's
you go.
right.
That's
You-
it.
You
I
nailed
mean,
it.
Now because we know everything. Right?
The world according to.
Legend in my own mind.
You just
Yeah.
described like 99% of the outdoor industry.
Yeah.
I saw Michael Waddell today. This morning he had a video. So like he takes a ton of shit for reaping, right? You know, turkey hunting with a fan. And he went on there as a character, like he was a rich Southern, gentleman or whatever. And like
Lord Fauntleroy
leaned into the fact that a turkey hunting purist, and I go out there not to kill them, but to see them up close. And, he really leaned into it. And I thought, man, I bet these people that hate him already for this shit really he threw more fuel on that fire. But
Trump derangement syndrome with him now.
a little bit. And I get it, I guess, if it's, I don't know. I get it to a point like, hey, if it's like a natural, if that elicits some sort of natural reaction to the turkey and they can't help themselves but run from 400 yards into 40 yards or 4 yards or whatever, like, okay, I guess I get like maybe it's an unfair advantage, but I don't know. I also get to the point where it's like, why can't somebody, if it is legal, I get the danger aspect, especially on public. And,
oh yeah.
And I totally get it. But I also kind of see where some people are like, why can't I hunt this way? It's, and my correlation to all this is like, how's that any different than the crossbows or a firearm or a compound versus a traditional archery, or where do you draw the line? It's, there's all kinds of ingenuity in our industry to help you kill whatever you're trying to kill.
And the cellular cameras are probably,
for sure.
You know,
although I've had a bunch of cell cameras the last 3 years and that really hasn't improved my odds. Like, I know the deer are there, but
the first 2 years I hunted with cell cams, I killed 0 mature bucks. And then the buck, and I work in cell cam land, and the buck that I killed this past year, I had no pictures of him. I grunted him off the neighbor's piece.
Now, are there guys out there that are super efficient in the Marks of the world? Yeah, they're really efficient at seeing, like, taking that intel, and maybe they got enough cameras out there. It's like, oh, this deer is going to die tonight because he went to bed this morning. When my deer goes to bed somewhere in the morning, never does he come back out that night. Ever. Well, once has it happened.
Dematerializes. Yeah.
Disappears.
Full-time job, really. If you have a bunch of properties, a bunch of cameras, you could really almost hire somebody and all they do is organize pictures on a map and really, really, really understand it. Because
if you're an analytical guy and you can take the info that you're getting and know how to activate on it.
And I think you can then take one that's 2.5, he's 3.5, he's 4.5, he's 5.5, and you have 3 years of history. If you can identify that deer, you learn a lot. I think Mark does a lot of that because he's so, that's what he does, right?
Yeah.
Him and Wade, and they're like, okay, we know this deer's been here since he was 2.
Yeah.
He likes doing this because goes back and there's a big folder on, my next giant, and
odds are good he'll be here with these conditions.
Year to year.
Yeah.
Data.
Yeah. That's what I think he's so good at. And understanding what it means too, right?
That's the thing. Like, you can have the data, doesn't mean you're going to know how to understand it and put a plan in place.
Anyone can have data.
Yeah. Anybody.
Grabbing data out of the air.
But as we have shown, doesn't mean you're gonna kill him.
It's not gonna take a call.
I had a friend that was he was a Missouri representative, and he was like, "Hey, I think we're gonna try to introduce a bill to make sure that cell cameras don't get banned permanently in Missouri or whatever." And he's like, can you talk about your thoughts on it? Or come, before the Senate or whatever it is in Missouri. And I'm like, I'm not a great example because I guess I am a good example. I don't think they help you that. I think they give you great intel. The deer are there, but I've had plenty of deer that I just can't kill. And
even though they're there.
And I know exactly where they're at. Excuse me. Then it ended up that they didn't end up doing it because they're like, there's really no need. There's not a risk of it going.
Let's not make a fight here where there's no fight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Yeah. Well, we got some new Rack Pack members to welcome into the fold. I don't know, Mark, if you're in the Rack Pack. You're invited. No pressure.
Are you on Facebook?
Yes, I'm on your Rack Pack.
I guess I just don't know.
That seemed kind of false.
I don't know how to react right now because
I see all your guys' posts and all your banner back and forth.
Normally there's an awkward silence when we ask the guest because they have no idea.
Who was the last one we asked?
It's 100% wild. That's the one.
Austin.
Rat Pack thing. That's what I was thinking in my brain. But
exactly.
No.
Dying.
Yeah. Terry called it the Rack Pack. And so.
Yeah. Terry named it.
What was it before?
Probably the 100% Wild podcast.
That's what I.
That's what it is.
But God bless you for.
Because you guys were just
being in that.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys go back and forth all the
time
about the saddle hunting with Perry.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So he's a
Rack Packer.
That's right. So we got some.
Get off my ass.
You read the names this week.
Yeah. I'll step in. Xavier Breath.
My favorite.
That's great. Professor X. Fitz Matouche.
It's Matouche.
And usually there's one fake name in
Oh,
here.
really?
Yeah.
So Rush Inuit. Sounds Alaskan. Philistine. Okay. Sounds Middle Eastern. And Kent C. Detrice.
Wouldn't Steen be Jewish? Why is that Middle Eastern? Philistine.
The Philistines?
Philistine.
There you go.
That one. Damn it. Okay.
Which one do you think is fake, guys?
I'm going to have to say Xavier Breath.
I'd say all of them.
That's a good one. Matt, I think you got it, buddy. They're all fakies this week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Need
Jim's
some new-
working overtime. I don't know where he's getting these. Like I was kind of racking my brain and coming up shorthanded there for a while.
Maybe AI. Maybe that's something where like
AI.
Chat GPT. I need fake names, and then you just got a list of.
I'm playing around with Grok right now.
I have
Elon Musk's.
Yeah.
I've not used that one yet. My son is getting married in June, and he's having his bachelor party down in Louisville next week. And he sent out invitations for golf, and it was really well written. And he goes, "Well, I used ChatGPT.
This wasn't you, was it?
They gave out this whole thing. It was really good because all of his buddies were like, "Oh, this was awesome," and he was like, "Yeah, it's ChatGPT."
As a writer, I have like a principled stand that I will not use it to write for me, but for information and insight, like I'll use it.
I use it for a lot of financial modeling, math stuff. Right? You can just spit it in there, and it's like, "Oh, and here's the formula." And like, okay, I don't need to see all the formula. Just give me the freaking answer, right?
But
calculate
to teach you. I don't want to learn.
Yeah,
I just need the answer.
but it's amazing, right? But I got to start using Elon's. I'm going to start trying that. I've not downloaded that one yet.
Yeah.
I haven't tried it.
Is it using the free version or is it got a?
Yeah. The Super Grok I think is the one you pay for, but so far the free version is great. There's different modes, like not a doctor, gives you medical advice, assistant. Although Sophie and I were playing with it last night, and I asked it. I was like, "Hey, as a 46-year-old dad, give me terminology I can use to tell my daughter that I really love her." And it was like, and it came up with like, "Hey fam, I hope you're vibing." Sophie was dying. But then it said, "Hit me up later, Tim." And she was like, "Oh, it's coming on to you."
Well, why don't you, if you ask it, how to kind of use cell cams better to kill deer? Have you tried it?
You can do that right now if you want.
Sure. What's on your mind?
Well, Mark Beck and I and Matt Drury are sitting here and we're wondering if cell cams really make you a better deer hunter.
Oh, that's a good one. Cell cams can definitely up your game as a deer hunter. They let you monitor trails and feeding spots without being there, so you're not spooking the deer with your scent or noise. You get pics and data sent right to your phone, which helps you figure out patterns, like when that big buck's moving. But it's not a magic bullet. You still need to know your land, read the signs, and put in the work. What do you guys think?
Bullshit.
Been using them much?
I think you're right.
Yeah, Mark's calling BS, but I think you're right on track.
Tim, I want to note.
Mark's not buying it, huh? Fair enough. Some folks swear by old school scouting and say tech's just a crutch. I get that. But if you're stuck at work and still want eyes on the woods, a cell cam's hard to beat.
Yeah, how old do you think Mark is?
Oh, I don't have a clue about Mark's age. I don't have any info on him.
Actually, Mark forgot too.
Forgot to what?
He forgot how old he was.
Ha, that's classic. Mark's out here forgetting his own age. And he's too busy arguing.
My nickname's Joe.
Me? I'm feeling great. Always ready to chat and help out.
Yep. Well, thank you. We appreciate it. You're now our third co-host.
She was pretty good.
Yeah, it's
Can
really.
you change the voice you want? Or is that you picked
The
that?
free
Did you
version
pick that?
you get a lady or a dude.
What's the dude sound like?
I don't know. I haven't tried.
British?
I'm not interested.
I could see why you like that's the back and forth that you're looking.
Female, I think is the. That's the.
That's what
vibe.
you've been looking for.
Yeah, right.
I'll have to check it out.
I have by default disillusioned female at home. I don't need anything less.
We feel comfortable talking like this because we know they won't listen. Although Cameron has been listening to the podcast lately, so I'm have to. He's got
Clean
an
it up a little
iPad.
bit?
He's like, Dad. He came down. He's like, Dad, listen to the podcast. I was like, oh, don't do that.
It's not going to help you at all.
Don't listen to the podcast, please.
No. All right. Well, poor Rhett's been sitting over there watching this debacle.
Rhett's fine.
He's used to it. He's in a tree with me. So it's a debacle all the time.
But
That's why he's been filming the whole time. Okay. All righty. Well, we should probably shut this baby down.
Mark,
Thanks for jumping on.
You got any closing thoughts for us?
No, just want to thank you guys for doing what you do. And it's always fun to be down here. And the Rat Pack banner back and forth is always entertaining. And no, just thanks for having me down. I appreciate coming to the studio. It makes it a lot easier for me and Rhett. So really appreciate it, guys. And keep up the good work. And, can't wait to come back.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll give you a ride home this time.
Hopefully this year you have some giants to chase and they didn't all get killed last year by other people.
Well, unfortunately, was out shed hunting and the waterhole buck that was on the hit list. He's dead. EHD. He's 186.
Now these are different properties. It's not all in one piece.
No, the 202 and the 186, they're all in the same piece.
Ooh.
And yeah.
That's a real killer.
Well,
Then we
now
found another 165 dead. We found a 7x6. I mean, I'm going to do a little, unfortunately, a little deadhead feature I'm going to video them all, line them all up and
Brutal.
It's, I'm afraid next year, I don't know. We have
Be a tough year.
The deer that I passed up when I killed the big palmated deer, he was probably in the 160s, but I think I wasn't sure how old he was. I think he might have only been 4. So I'm like, we got to have something to chase next year, right? So hopefully he's going to be, a boon.
In the 80s.
Yeah, it's hoping so, but you just never know. I mean,
drought, something, injury, anything can change that.
Yeah. So we just hope that we have a good year and obviously we'll have a lot of fawns born, I think. But I think the beauty of it is in 2 or 3 years, I think we'll have some giants again because, there's not as much buck pressure and, I think we'll have some maybe really special deer.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We'll be
something
watching.
to look forward to.
Yeah. I'm going to get my crossbow out and kill them all.
Come, Mark, come on.
But
I'm just talking.
No, I love it. Bring it. He's on energy juice.
That's
right. First form, baby.
I remember when I had my first beer.
Until next time, peace out.
DeerCast is completely updated and better than ever. Prep, predict, and pursue your target buck with our detailed maps, weather, and 14-day movement predictor.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast Maps, waypoints, weather, virtual rain gauges, and more. Every tool you need to get ahead of your game.